of the members of Naruto's Team 7 trained with the wrong Sanin? You'd probably say, no, Nick, that's ridiculous. Obviously, every member of Team 7 was meant to train with the member of the Sanin that they ended up with. Their pairings couldn't have been more perfect. Sakura is a strong, punchy healer-type woman, just like Tsunade. Naruto is a perfect Toad Sage who uses the Rasengan like Jiraiya. And Sasuke... Well, Sasuke actually doesn't end up anything like Orochimaru, but he does eventually get Orochimaru summons, like Manda and Aoba. And so in some capacity or another, Sasuke also seems like a perfect student for Orochimaru. But I genuinely believe that the only reason we feel like the members of Naruto's Team 7 ended up with the correct Sanin is simply because they became carbon copies of the people they trained under. And genuinely, I believe if you look at each and every single member of Naruto's Team 7 before they trained with their respective Sanin, you'll see that they ended up with the wrong teachers. See, while yes, Sakura's innate fantastic control over chakra control allowed her to become one of the greatest medical ninjutsu specialists ever seen in the Naruto universe. However, the combination of her insanely strong body and once-in-a-generation chakra control would have actually been better served under the tutelage of somebody like Orochimaru as opposed to Tsunade. Yes, Naruto's massive chakra reserves, strong body, and okay chakra control allowed for him to master the A-rank jutsu of his father, the Rasengan, under the tutelage of Jiraiya, and also with painstaking effort master perfect sage mode, also like his father under the tutelage of Jiraiya. Jiraiya was never able to address what was effectively Naruto's greatest weakness, which was his lack of chakra control. And as crazy as it sounds, if Naruto were to train under somebody who was able to finally hone his chakra control to a level that was on par with either Sasuke or Sakura's, Naruto could have ended up even stronger than he was at the end of Shippuden. And quite honestly, I don't even need to make that much of an argument to state that Sasuke shouldn't have been training under Orochimaru. Any and all progress that Sasuke appears to make during the time skip under the tutelage of Orochimaru appears to be from his own hard work. On top of this, Sasuke uses absolutely zero of Orochimaru's learned skills, like Edo Tensei, any snake-based jutsu, or even the wind style that Orochimaru was so famously known for. And thus it would make way more sense to me, based off Sasuke's physiology, mastery over chakra control, and childhood genius, that he would end up with Jiraiya as a sensei. And I do genuinely believe that if these were the true Team 7 Sanin pairings, then as crazy as it sounds, Team 7 would have ended Naruto's story even stronger than they did in the original timeline. But obviously, without any evidence to substantiate these claims, they sound baseless and insane. Why today we're talking Team 7 trained with the wrong Sanin. But before we get to talking on this hypothetical universe where we're making Team 7 stronger for no real reason, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. So I'm just gonna get this out of the way. I acknowledge the fact that a lot of these characters couldn't have ended up with these respective teachers. Obviously, Sasuke's path to Orochimaru was lined out for him when Orochimaru planted a curse mark on him that he was able to survive. Jiraiya trained Minato, and therefore it was always kind of predestined that he was gonna train Naruto. And as Kishimoto only knows how to write one type of powerful woman, Tsunade was always gonna train Sakura so that Sakura could be a carbon copy of her. So I'm not gonna sit here and try and reason out within the confines of the plot that these individual members of Team 7 could train with different Sanin. I'm simply acknowledging the fact from a skills perspective in the pre-time skip era that every member of Team 7 would have technically been better suited to train with a different Sanin than the one they ended up training with. And really, out of these three members of Team 7, I don't believe somebody got stiffed harder than Sakura, which I guess is kind of just a through line throughout the entirety of Naruto when talking about Team 7. But like it or not, in part 1 of Naruto, Sakura was being set up as a potentially very powerful character. In the Land of Waves arc, it was established that Sakura's chakra control was far beyond that of either Naruto or Sasuke's, as she was able to walk up to the top of a tree by applying chakra to the bottom of her feet on her first try, something that took Naruto and Sasuke literal days of training to pull off. On top of this, in the Konoha Crush arc, Sakura was the first person in the Konoha 12 to be able to awaken herself out of the Genjutsu applied to the entire arena by the hidden Sand Shinobi. And all of this led to Kakashi believing that Sakura had the chops to potentially be one of the greatest Genjutsu users of all time. As to be a great Genjutsu user, you need to have incredibly precise chakra control, as Genjutsu is technically just a chakra control tug-of-war between the Genjutsu user and the person Genjutsu is being used on. However, chakra control isn't just relevant in the usage of Genjutsu. It's also the most important factor in deciding whether or not somebody's going to be good or not at medical ninjutsu, because medical ninjutsu, just like surgery in real life, requires a very steady hand, and therefore only those with the most precise chakra control can be high-level medical ninjutsu ninjutsu users, which is why it does make a fair amount of sense that Sakura did end up being a medical ninjutsu specialist, and one of the greatest medical ninjutsu specialists of all time. However, chakra control is kind of important in everything. It's as important in medical ninjutsu and genjutsu as it is in ninjutsu and taijutsu. It's massively important in senjutsu, fuinjutsu, really anything. When it boils down to it, there's three things that matter in the Naruto universe: chakra control, strength of your body, and how much chakra you have. And so to look at Sakura and say, oh, she has incredibly precise chakra control, therefore she should be a medical ninjutsu specialist, is to ignore the fact that precise chakra control can literally be applied to any specialty in the Naruto universe. And therefore, while Sakura's crazy level of chakra control did allow for her to master medical ninjutsu to the point where she was able to unlock the strength of 100 seal, something that only the likes of Tsunade and possibly Mito Uzumaki have been shown to be able to pull off previously, under different tutelage, Sakura could have applied that innate chakra control mastery to apply a massive bag of jutsus. One of those possibilities being Snake Sage Mode. See, like I already established, I genuinely believe that Orochimaru would have been a better pairing for pre-time skip Sakura as a Sanin tutor. It's well known that one of Orochimaru's biggest foibles is their inability to undergo Snake Sage Mode. This is because, well, even though Orochimaru does have the chakra control and chakra reserves to undergo a Snake Sage Mode transformation, their body is not strong enough. However, these same restrictions do not apply to Sakura. Sakura, pre-strength of 100 seal, isn't necessarily known for her absurd chakra reserves. She is known for her insanely strong body and her insanely precise chakra control. And thus, considering the fact that Sakura is able to massively boost her chakra reserves through the learning of the Byakuya seal later on, implying that she has a massive capacity to increase the amount of chakra that she has access to, there's really no reason for us to believe that Sakura, under the tutelage of Orochimaru, wouldn't be able to master Snake Sage Mode, and most likely at a level higher than even Kabuto was able to accomplish. But when talking about the idea of Sakura training under Orochimaru, that's a name that should be brought up rather frequently: Kabuto. As Sakura, while training under Orochimaru, would follow a very similar trajectory to that of Kabuto. See, while Kabuto was kind of a medical ninjutsu specialist prior to joining up with Orochimaru, as Kabuto learned how to become a ninja from Nana Yakushi, his pseudo-mother, as she used the medical ninjutsu abilities that she learned in the Anbu/root to treat the injuries and illnesses of the people of Konoha so that she could use the money that she earned to keep the doors of the Konoha orphanage open. And like, yeah, is the head of the orphanage having to work side gigs to earn enough money to keep the orphanage open the most American thing I've ever heard? Kind of. It's also a pretty good answer to the idea of why didn't Naruto end up in the Konoha orphanage? But anyways, the reason that we're on this tangent is because Kabuto was trained to be a ninja by a medical ninjutsu specialist. And Kabuto, who was kind of a mama's boy, wanted to help Nana in her endeavor to keep the Konoha orphanage open, and therefore he, at a very young age, started training in medical ninjutsu. The same cannot really be said for Sakura, however. Sakura didn't start training the applications of medical ninjutsu until the time skip. Well, technically until the lead up to the time skip, when she identified that both Naruto and Sasuke were off getting stronger and she needed to follow in their footsteps. But this means that Sakura training in medical ninjutsu is inseparably paired to the idea of her training with Tsunade. And therefore, if we were to say that Sakura was to go off and train with Orochimaru, there's really no reason for us to assume that she would be trained in medical ninjutsu. Unless, of course, she ended up paired with Kabuto, and there is a fair to good chance of that happening. And thus, there's a pretty good chance that Sakura would learn some medical ninjutsu while training under Orochimaru, but it wouldn't be all that she would focus on. See, because remember when I said the chakra control can apply to truly any facet of any specialty in the Naruto universe? Well, that's because it can. And if Sakura was training under Orochimaru, who was actively trying to crack the code of all of the jutsu on Earth, her once-in-a-generation, naturally God-given chakra control would allow for her to follow in Orochimaru's footsteps pretty closely. And thus she, much like Kabuto, would become knowledge sponges that followed Orochimaru around and learned all of the jutsus that they were cracking the code to. She, much more than Sasuke ever did, would use her insane chakra control to try and learn all of the ninjutsu and genjutsu that Orochimaru was cracking the code of over the course of the years of their research. Ties into the fact that she has basically the perfect build to learn Snake Sage Mode and a kit that lends itself to learning medical ninjutsu at a high level, and Sakura would effectively, under the tutelage of Orochimaru, just become Dragon Sage Mode Kabuto. And even if hypothetically she didn't learn Snake Sage Mode, she would have a curse mark, which would grant her access to Senjutsu chakra created by Orochimaru, thus boosting her chakra reserves, meaning she would have her once-in-a-generation chakra control, her insanely strong body, and super high chakra reserves either through the medium of a Snake Sage Mode or a curse mark, leading to a freakishly strong Snake Sage Mode user with insane chakra reserves and a chakra control ability so incredibly precise she could either use medical ninjutsu or cut people's ninjutsu in half by identifying weak points in it, putting her, like I've already established, on par with the likes of Dragon Sage Mode Kabuto. And while it can be argued that Sakura by the end of Shippuden is stronger than Dragon Sage Mode Kabuto, I'd like to remind the class that it took the combined efforts of EMS Sasuke and Edo Tensei Itachi, the strongest version of Itachi we ever saw, to take down Dragon Sage Mode Kabuto. But enough about Sakura, let's get to the main character of our story, Naruto. See, while many will sit here and say that Naruto absolutely ended up with the right teacher in Jiraiya, I'd reckon that there actually isn't a worse teacher in the Sanin that Naruto could have ended up with. Yes, obviously, Jiraiya taught Minato, and so it's a kind of cute father-son moment that Jiraiya also got to teach Naruto. However, when you genuinely look back at Jiraiya's time as Minato's mentor, what exactly did Jiraiya teach Minato? Jiraiya doesn't know Flying Raijin. Minato created the Rasengan, and while Jiraiya did teach Minato Perfect Sage Mode, Minato himself admits to not being good at it, which is presumably why we never saw him use it while he was still alive. Ties into the fact that Naruto's biggest weakness heading into the time skip was his lack of chakra control, then technically it actually would have made a lot more sense that Naruto ended up training with Tsunade over Jiraiya. See, like we've already established, Tsunade is some of the most precise chakra control we've ever seen in the Naruto universe, and because of that, she was able to whip Sakura up into a level of shape where Sakura, whenever she uses a ninjutsu, taijutsu, or genjutsu, only uses the exact amount of chakra required for said jutsu. That is to say that whenever Sakura does anything chakra related, she wastes a grand total of 0 chakra, something that can absolutely not be stated for Naruto. However, because Naruto was such a gross amount of chakra, it was never really an issue that he wasted a fair amount of chakra every time he used a jutsu. At least that's the narrative that most people would tell you, because it actually does become a problem quite often that Naruto uses too much chakra every time he tries to pull off a jutsu. See, it's Naruto's rapid expenditure of way too much chakra every time he tries to use multi-shadow clone jutsu or a Rasengan that often led to Kurama taking him over in the early parts of Naruto. And while this was kind of the point of the 8 trigram seal, slowly but surely leaking Kurama's chakra into Naruto's chakra circulatory system to normalize him to it, whenever Naruto would run out of chakra by dumping as much chakra as he possibly could into whatever jutsu he was trying to pull off, this would open the door to Kurama offering Naruto some of his chakra in an attempt to take over his body, or just weaken the 8 trigram seal, which is a problem that could have very easily been addressed if Naruto's chakra control was just a little bit more precise. And therefore, if Naruto had trained under Tsunade and was able to acquire a level of chakra control comparable to that of Sakura after her training with Tsunade, Naruto would way more rarely, if never, run into the issue of running out of chakra. Naruto's chakra reserves, even without the consideration of Kurama, are already some of the highest in the entire verse. If Naruto, every time he wanted to use a Rasengan, only used the requisite amount of chakra required to use a Rasengan, his chakra reserves would go way further. On top of this, if Naruto's chakra control was honed to a fine tip point, it would help him massively in the battle of control as it pertained to his own body. See, like we established earlier, Genjutsu is a battle of chakra control between the person using Genjutsu and the person having Genjutsu used on them. The same can be said for Fuinjutsu. And thus, if Naruto were to increase his chakra control, he would actually have greater control over Kurama as an entity and the 8 trigram seal. And thus, ironically, if Naruto trained with Tsunade, he probably would have had access to Kurama's chakra way earlier than if he trained with Jiraiya. See, because it was Naruto's domination of Kurama that gave him access to KCM1. And when Naruto was able to brute force his way into domination over Kurama using Sage Mode and a ton of Rasengan and Shadow Clones, if Naruto honed his chakra control to the level of Sakura, he would have been able to achieve domination over Kurama's chakra in a chakra control battle that would have given him access to a version of KCM1 probably during the time skip. And while something like KCM2 still would have required him befriending Kurama, under the tutelage of Tsunade, Naruto could have had access to something like KCM1 coming out of the time skip, as opposed to what he has in the original timeline, which is just basically that Kurama takes him over way more violently now, so much so that even the likes of Jiraiya with seal tags specifically designed to seal away Kurama are barely enough to keep Naruto in check. But I know there's some of you out there saying, but Naruto's already got a healing factor. What would he need to train with Tsunade for? And you're right. Just by virtue of having Kurama sealed inside of him, Naruto is a healing factor comparable to that of Tsunade's strength of 100 healing factor. So Naruto wouldn't necessarily need to train with Tsunade because he already has medical ninjutsu mastery on par with hers, at least so far as it goes to healing himself. And yeah, that's true. I mean, we literally see Naruto in part 1 heal a cannonball-sized hole that Sasuke punches through his chest simply by having Kurama's chakra. Something that only people like Hashirama, Tsunade, or Sakura will be able to pull off. However, if Naruto did train with Tsunade, she would be able to teach him how to leverage this healing ability granted to him by Kurama's chakra and combined it with applied medical ninjutsu practices, giving giving Naruto a Karin-esque healing factor that would allow him to heal those around him, much akin to how he was able to heal people in the 4th Great Shinobi World War by sharing a version 1 Jinchuriki cloak with them, as the abundance of chakra that enveloped those that he gave these cloaks to healed people naturally, which is exactly how Karin's healing ability works. Having an overabundance of life force / chakra simply just leads to being healed in the Naruto universe. And thus, coming out of the time skip, if Naruto trained with Tsunade, he could have a KCM1 type mode and the ability to share the abundance of his life force with others to heal them at a level equal to or greater than we saw with Sakura coming out of the time skip. On top of this, if Naruto were able to get his level of chakra control to that of Sakura's, something that he should be able to do considering the fact that he was able to pull off the Rasen Shuriken and then apply elemental releases to it, something that in itself requires a ridiculous amount of chakra control, there's really no reason that Naruto, like Sakura, couldn't have learned the strength of 100 seal. And like it or not, the strength of 100 seal would be massively more powerful on Naruto than it was on Sakura. As with the strength of 100 seal, while technically everybody is effectively immortal while using it, Naruto would not only have access to a way bigger pool of chakra, because mind you, he'd be able to put away more chakra every single day than either Tsunade or Sakura, but he would also have the regenerative ability of Kurama stacked on top of his mitotic regeneration, powered by the strength of 100 seal, giving him levels of invulnerability and regeneration that we have never seen before in the Naruto universe. And the length at which you'd be able to maintain this mode is also far beyond anything that we've ever seen from any of the users of strength of 100 seal. And last, but definitely not least, with the combination of a mastery over Kurama's chakra, his own chakra, and the strength of 100 seal, Naruto would be able to summon more of Lady Katsuyo than we've ever seen. In fact, I'd make the argument that Naruto would possibly be able to summon all 100% of Lady Katsuyo. And as her true size is said to be that of a mountain, that'd be a pretty important consideration when talking about how powerful Naruto would be under the tutelage of Tsunade. So when asking the question, who should train the child with an abundance of chakra who has no idea how to use it, the answer should have been the only living Senju who's got some of the most precise chakra control we've ever seen. And that leaves us with only one member of the Sanin and one member of Team 7 left: Sasuke. Now, I'm gonna come out and say it. Sasuke has inarguably the weakest arguments to train with any of the 3 Sanin. None of them are Uchiha, none of them are lightning specialists, and none of them even train in Genjutsu, which is why Sasuke resembles the Sanin that he trains under the least out of any of the members of Team 7. Because fundamentally, the only person he should have been training under was Kakashi, the person he actively scorned to go train under Orochimaru. But if you were to make an argument that Sasuke should have ended up training under any of the Sanin, it's not Orochimaru, and rather it's Jiraiya, for a couple of reasons. The first and probably most important of which, to at least Sasuke, should have been the fact that Itachi identified Jiraiya as a threat so incredibly capable that the combined forces of Itachi and Kisame together wouldn't have won in combat against him. And I'm gonna tell you right now, Itachi does not feel that same way about Orochimaru, as Itachi so single-handedly beat down Orochimaru that Orochimaru had to flee the Akatsuki because of it. And therefore, if you're looking to train under anybody in order to get strong enough to kill your brother, maybe train under the person who's strong enough to kill your brother. But also, Sasuke should have trained under Jiraiya because he had way more to gain learning under Jiraiya than even Naruto did. See, heading into the time skip, Sasuke was a struggling genius. He could use Chidori, Great Fireball Jutsu, and his 3 Tomei Sharingan at a relatively high level. And while like I've established, none of the Sanin specialized in lightning-based ninjutsu, which with time would eventually become a vast majority of Sasuke's kit. Of the 3 legendary Sanin, the only one of them that had any experience training anybody with a dojutsu was Jiraiya, as Jiraiya trained Nagato in the Land of Rain. Thus, while Sasuke does become pretty reliant on the curse mark for extra power towards the end of part 1 of Naruto, the fact that Sasuke was strong enough in part 1 of Naruto to survive having a curse mark planted on him by Orochimaru seems to imply that Sasuke's body is absolutely strong enough to undergo a Sage Mode transformation. Ties into the fact that while Sasuke's chakra control isn't technically as good as Sakura's, it is historically better than Naruto's. And while his body isn't as strong as Sakura's, it's about as strong as Naruto's. And while his chakra reserves aren't as high as Naruto's, they are pretty crazy high. Using Naruto as a metric to compare chakra amount isn't really fair. And all of this seems to imply that Sasuke would be able to be trained in Toad Sage mode. And while he may not undergo a perfect Toad Sage transformation like Naruto, if he's not getting perfect Toad Sage mode, he's getting pretty close. Sasuke has a lot more to gain from a Toad Sage transformation than Naruto did. See, while Toad Sage mode gives an extrasensory perception boost and access to things like Frog Kata, Chakra. More than anything, like any Sage mode, it gives you access to Senjutsu Chakra, a combination of the user's chakra and nature chakra that can be used to bolster the chakra reserves of the person who's using the Sage mode in the first place. And as we've already established that Naruto's chakra reserves are absolutely ridiculous, this is an aspect of Naruto's kit that's almost kind of redundant, and would be better suited if taught to other people whose chakra reserves weren't already ludicrous to begin with, like Sasuke. On top of this, if you consider the fact that with Toad Sage mode, Sasuke would be stacking the extrasensory perception boost of the Sharingan with the extrasensory perception boost of Toad Sage mode, and Sasuke would have some of the quickest reflexes, reaction speeds, and just general speed in the verse almost immediately. And the boost to his chakra reserves through the medium of Senjutsu Chakra, it would allow for Sasuke to use his Sharingan for much longer than he currently has access to. And thus the combination of the Toad Sage mode with Sasuke's Sharingan-based abilities would immediately put Sasuke on par with Madara in the 4th Great Shinobi World War, as Sasuke would be in his prime, have access to all of his Sharingan abilities, and have a Sage mode, like Madara had Hashirama's Sage mode in the 4th Great Shinobi World War. And considering the fact that this version of Madara, with no eyes, was able to defeat EMS Sasuke with little to no difficulty, there's really no reason for us to believe that an MS or EMS version of Sasuke with a Toad Sage mode wouldn't be comparable to, if not stronger than, that version of Madara. On top of all of this, while Jiraiya is not a specialist in lightning-based ninjutsu, he is a fire ninjutsu specialist, and thus if anybody was going to be able to teach Sasuke how to boost his flame ninjutsu, like his great fireball technique or his Amaterasu, it would probably be Jiraiya, who, mind you, was able to seal off part of Itachi's Amaterasu and study it later on. And therefore, if anybody understands Amaterasu, it's also Jiraiya. And thus, under the tutelage of Jiraiya, Sasuke would get a taijutsu boost through the medium of Frog Kata, an extrasensory perception boost through the medium of Toad Sage mode, a chakra boost, a flame ninjutsu boost, and would basically become the Sage of Six Paths once he acquired his Rinnegan, through the combination of Sharingan, Rinnegan, and Sage mode abilities. And so, even though technically Sasuke and Jiraiya align the least out of all of these repairings of the Team 7 and Sanin, I do genuinely believe that Sasuke would see the biggest boost by switching his Sanin teacher. Find that really interesting and fun. But I'm curious to hear from you guys. Who do you believe that each member of Team 7 should have trained with to achieve their highest level of power? Let me know in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. The benefit of waking up at 4:30 a.m. because you're deeply jet lagged is the fact that you're done with 2 videos at 11, and now you don't know what to do with the rest of the day.